Hello there friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan. Now most lightsaber designs, whether they're Jedi or Sith or Grey, are pretty similar in function. The only differences are really just their aesthetic design. But all throughout Star Wars history there have been some really interesting lightsaber designs, and so that's what we're going to take a look at in today's video, some of the most unique lightsabers ever created. Okay, so there are actually quite a few curved hilt lightsabers out in the Star Wars galaxy. Ahsoka used a pair, Count Dooku used one, and he also taught his apprentice Asajj Ventress how to appreciate this unique type of design. You see, when a hilt is curved, it allowed the user to hold it in such a way that the blade is directly aligned with the arm. When you have a normal lightsaber like this, your grip on the lightsaber is almost perpendicular to the handle itself. When you have a curved hilt, you can almost hold the lightsaber perpendicular to your arm, which allows for more precision. This is terrific for specific lightsaber styles, especially a dueling style like Makasi Form 2, which relies on efficient and precise parries, counterattacks, and thrusts. It's no surprise then that both Asajj Ventress and Count Dooku were skilled practitioners of Form 2 Makasi and used their curved hilts to great effect. Of course, there were some deficiencies with these types of blades. Primarily, one's grip on the weapon was weaker in this configuration, and usually you could only hold a curved lightsaber with one hand. Users of the curved hilt oftentimes were easy to disarm, especially when struck with a full power blow. This happened to Asajj Ventress a few times when fighting a stronger Jedi like Anakin. What's really cool about Asajj Ventress' pair of curved hilt lightsabers is they can be combined together to create a double-ended curved lightsaber. There's a reason why whips aren't used in combat, and that's because normal whips aren't designed for fighting. They're just used to inflict pain, usually on a stationary target. But one Jedi turned Sith from the Old Republic era known as Githany used a normal lightsaber as well as what's known as a light whip. These were heavily modified lightsabers with multiple plasma blades that came out of the hilts that were flexible. These blades had less cutting power than your normal type of lightsabers, but they were extremely hard to defend against. Not only because people rarely were used to fighting against someone with a whip, but because of their range and the speed at which someone could use a light whip. The Jedi were more commonly known to use the light whip because it was relatively effective against the forbidden forms of lightsaber combat used by the Sith. Now, these forbidden forms usually relied on a lot of force powers and quick movements, and so the lightsaber whip could really keep those enemies at a distance. The lightsaber whip was also associated with the Night Sisters of Dathomir. The Zygerian slavers were also known for using a similar weapon known as the Electro Whip. Before we continue though, a word from our sponsor for today's video, Fishing Clash. There's nothing in life more relaxing than sitting out by the water and casting out a line and waiting for a fish to bite. But unfortunately, most of us have jobs, or have made some negative comments on the internet about aquatic mammals, which means that we can no longer be near bodies of water larger than a wading pool. And so the next best thing is Fishing Clash, the mobile app that allows you to bring the joy of fishing to your smartphone no matter where you are. You start off the game in Florida, and from there you continue to upgrade your skills and equipment. Travel all around the world and cast out your rod from both shore or from a boat and collect all sorts of different species. And this July 4th, Fishing Clash will have all sorts of events for Independence Day with all sorts of bonuses, events, and competitions, so don't miss out. If Fishing Clash sounds like the game for you, please download it in the description below. Plus, we have a QR code here in the corner, and you can also use our promo code, that's MEOW, all caps, to get some free goodies, which include a 3-star rated fishing rod, a mythical lure, which is actually a dolphin fish, not to be confused with dolphins, which are devious. Plus, you'll get 50 luck power-ups and 30 weight power-ups that will allow you to go after the more exotic and larger fish species. Well guys, thank you for your patience. On to the rest of the video. A lot of people dislike Ezra Bridger's lightsaber design, especially uppity Jedi who believe that blasters are not a proper weapon for the Jedi. But I actually like it quite a lot, especially for its more janky and DIY look. Known as the Lightsaber Blaster Hybrid, This weapon wasn't two weapons wrapped in one hilt, it was one hilt with two ways of dispersing energy. You could either turn the blade on like a normal saber, or redirect the energy from the blade into bolts of plasma that could be shot as projectiles. These blaster rounds weren't as deadly as a normal blaster round, and they also had a very short range. But the point of this secondary firing system was to surprise the enemy long enough so that the wielder could escape. Ezra Bridger chose to add this blaster function onto his lightsaber because he lacked the skill and training to properly defend himself with a lightsaber. Ezra Bridger was a post-Order 66 Jedi, which meant that he had to keep his lightsaber very well hidden in public spaces. This is why the secondary blaster mode is really useful. He's able to defend himself without revealing that he was actually a Jedi. And even if a stormtrooper were to take a closer look at Ezra's lightsaber, they might just confuse it for a staple gun or some other type of tool. The Lightsaber Parasol comes from the Visions short film series. It's definitely one of the weirdest blades we have on this list. Wielded by a Sith bandit known as Kuru, this unique blade was made up of two parts. First, you had the lightsaber itself, which is basically just a normal blade, and then you had the Parasol auxiliary attachment, which, when connected to the lightsaber, would take the energy from the kyber crystal and spread it out to various emitters. When this contraption was spun, it created a shield of plasma that could stop most incoming projectiles. It was, however, a very clumsy and awkwardly shaped device. In order to retain a sense of anonymity, the Jedi Temple Guards all wore the same uniform and mask, and also used the same type of lightsaber known as the Lightsaber Pike. This weapon had two yellow blades and a pretty long grip in the middle, which was actually made up of two normal-looking hilts tied to one another. Jedi Temple Guardians were tasked with defending the temple and keeping rogue Jedi from harming the other members of the Order. The Lightsaber Pike is a pretty simple design. It's designed to give less skilled fighters more of a chance against advanced fighters because you have that increased range. And since Jedi Temple Guards usually operated in larger groups, they could use these pikes to create a skirmish line and control larger groups of people. The Crossguard lightsaber was used by Kylo Ren. I remember when The Force Awakens first came out, a huge deal was made about this new blade. The Crossguard blade started out as just a normal Jedi lightsaber with a blue kyber crystal, but after the destruction of the Jedi Temple, Kylo Ren would bleed his kyber crystal, and he would also incorporate the Crossguard hilt into his saber's design. This included two lateral vents on the side of the handle that diverted extra heat away. Kylo Ren actually learned about this Crossguard hilt design from ancient records dating back to the Great Scourge of Malachor. You guys might remember that scene from Rebels where Ezra Bridger picks up a very similar Crossguard lightsaber with a green hilt when he's journeying to that planet. Kylo Ren's specific design also featured a cracked kyber crystal, which is why the power of his blade is constantly in flux, and it kind of makes his lightsaber look like it's about to explode. In the Rise of Skywalker movie, there is a scene where Rey has a vision of a dark side version of herself. In this vision, she's actually holding a double-ended lightsaber which has a hinge that allowed this staff saber to bend in half. While this might be visually a really cool movement and a cool looking blade, there is actually something very practical about this design. During the Clone Wars, Jedi General Pong Krell utilized two double-bladed lightsabers. These were quite large weapons even with the blades sheathed. This is why both the Krell's blades are hinged so that they can be folded in half when he's done with them. This allows for much easier transport of the weapons. Okay, so our next lightsaber isn't exactly a lightsaber. Instead, it's a weapon that uses lightsabers, and it is ridiculously powerful. Known as the Lightsaber Rifle, this weapon came from an ancient time when the Jedi were far more militarized. When Order 66 came and the Jedi Temple fell, only head librarian Jocasta knew about the existence of this weapon. Shortly after Order 66, Jocasta Nu would return to the Jedi Temple to retrieve the weapon. She would end up using it against Darth Vader and almost defeats the Sith Lord. The beam that comes out of the end of this rifle was ridiculously powerful. It could easily burn through several meters of Duracrete. The only drawback was that this weapon could only be fired 5 times before it had to eject the lightsaber it was using as ammunition. The ejected lightsaber was usually melted and damaged beyond repair. For some reason, melee fighting doesn't really evolve much in Star Wars amongst Force users. We never see other types of lightsabers that aren't swords. We don't usually see shields or armor as well. This was simply because the Jedi and Sith's efficiency with the lightsaber is so great that no defensive measures were needed. But during the Old Republic period, the Emperor of the Eternal Throne brought the Republican Sith Empire to its knees using his fearsome Knights of Zakul. These were a group of Force-sensitive warriors who kind of viewed the Force as a tool to enforce justice, law, and order. The Knights of Zakul were quite disciplined, and they would drastically change how lightsaber combat would be fought during this period of time. The Knights of Zakul would actually adopt combat formations and wield massive shields for protection. At the same time, they also used what was known as a Lightsaber Lance. This is by far one of the longest lightsaber designs we've ever seen. It's essentially a long pole with a lightsaber beam at the end. This weapon was really great for keeping enemies at range, especially very dangerous Sith or Jedi duelists. When the Knights of Zakul deployed in a shield wall or phalanx formation, they were extremely hard to resist. It was said that long ago, Mustafar was a beautiful garden planet. Back then, a royal family known as the Korvax lived on the planet. When Lord Dorwin Korvax passed away, his wife, Lady Korvax, attempted to resurrect him. She would use an artifact known as the Bright Star and insert it into a super weapon known as the Eon Engine. The result turned the entire planet of Mustafar into a hellish volcanic wasteland. Lord Korvax obviously wouldn't really return back to life. He would be trapped in this in-between realm, in between the living and the dead. Years later, when Darth Vader takes over Mustafar and establishes his base on the planet, the Dark Lord attempted to use the same super weapon to resurrect his deceased wife. A descendant of Lady Korvax would use Lord Korvax's old lightsaber to destroy this mechanism to prevent Darth Vader from destroying the planet once again. This ancient weapon had a very elaborate hilt and crossguard, which was made in the shape of a medieval longsword, complete with engravings and gold accents. But what really made this blade special was the exposed chamber where the kyber crystal for the weapon was held. The Darksaber was more than just a weapon. It was an important piece of Mandalorian history. At a time when Jedi and Mandalorian tensions were running at an all-time high, Tar Vizsla joined the ranks of the Jedi Order and forged this mythical weapon. He would eventually return to his people and unite them with the Darksaber. The lightsaber would remain a symbol of leadership for House Vizsla and all Mandalorians for the rest of time. The blade was quite difficult to mistake for anything else, and that's because the blade itself was completely colorless and only gave off a white glow. This is a very temperamental blade. The user of the saber had to be mentally focused and connected to properly swing it. Otherwise, they would become overwhelmed by its weight. The Darksaber could also be identified with its very digital, high-pitched squeal. Not all lightsabers are made in the same size, just like not all Jedi and Sith are made in the same size. Now, of course, some lightsabers can actually extend and retract by using some controls on the hilt. The Shoto Blade specifically was created for the tiniest of duelists like Master Even Peel or Grand Master Yoda. Once again, we see the Eastern inspiration behind Star Wars. Shoto in Japanese means Shoto Blade, or the little short blade that samurai would carry to commit ritual suicide, also known as harikari. These tiny blades were more proportional to smaller bodies. Also, some practitioners of Jar-Kai, which is the dual-wielding form of lightsaber combat, liked wielding a Shoto blade for blocking in their offhand and a regular-sized blade for attacking with their regular hand. Ahsoka Tano preferred this setup. The Inquisitor, known as the 10th Brother, on the other hand, wielded two Shoto blades. This allowed him to get up close and personal and strike with high frequency. And, well, I guess the 10th Brother didn't realize that. The short length of the Shoto blade meant, though, that it had a lot less defensive coverage than a normal blade, which is a big problem when a bunch of people are shooting blaster bolts at you. Lastly, we have the Inquisitors Blade. We actually did an entire video recently about how poorly designed this blade is. This lightsaber had a massive handguard, which was made out of non-lightsaber resistant material. Not only was it awkward, it also got in the way of a fighter's natural movements. Whenever it was struck by a lightsaber, there was a chance that the internal components of the saber could be destroyed as well. The coolest feature that the Inquisitor's Blade had was its ability to fully extend into a double blade and then spin at rapid speeds. This allowed the less skilled Inquisitors to deflect blaster bolts with relative ease. And at the same time, this spinning mode could be used by the wielder as a flight aid. So there you have it, guys. Those are some of the most unique laser sword designs that I could find. Please let me know in the comment section below which one is your favorite and if I've missed any other designs. Also, guys, check out Fishing Clash in the description below, and don't forget to use our promo code if you want all those free goodies. As usual, thanks for joining us today. My name is Alan, reminding you that my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy.